Hi all, welcome to the first of the Discord squad reviews. Going to be trying to get through this quite often this year. We tried to do it a bit last year, but we want to do it more often this year because it could be good to see what people's squads are throughout FIFA and so forth as we kind of get through the year. So if you could smash likes, as always, we much appreciate. Sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter, G's a Legend. All links are down below for both on the channel and social media links as always. And comment down below what squads were your favourites, what ones should be improved and so forth. So first one is from Johnny. Very nice team in all honesty. Very little, if I'm honest, needing done to improve it. Interesting to see Renato obviously his inform in this team. Like for probably improvements, realistically, it's if Ramos gets an inform, that would obviously be the next step. Obviously Semedo, you're obviously would ideally want his Barcelona version if you could be able to obtain it, but it's going to be hard. But Semedo's the only one off chem, but like realistically you'd have to work to maybe say Alisson and Van Dijk would probably be like the next progressive step if you're trying to kind of keep chemistry at a point. But Johnny's team pretty much on point, and like Mbappe Kante is never going to work as a cam, sadly. Like more obviously Pogba, but for chem you've got to kind of do that. On to next squad, we've got very nice kind of general straightforward EPL La Liga hybrid, nothing too fancy about it. Lucas is probably the only adjustment I would make. I just don't like Lucas. I'm never a fan of his cards. I just feel that he doesn't work, and Havertz as a striker is another one I feel wouldn't work. I'd rather just go and put the coins together to try and get Werner, and I just feel Henderson's not quite an 86 rated card, and if anything I'd swap him for Fabinho. But the team as a whole, obviously it's very Real Madrid and Barca heavy on the left. Obviously Suarez is now obviously Atletico Madrid with his one to watch, but for me, Henderson, Lucas, Havertz, 3 adjustments I would make in that particular team, but it's a really good team though regardless. Next team we have, it's not ideal that we've got the flash on the screen, but you still work with it regardless. Like for me, it's mainly Pepe and Lacazette. That's kind of really the only adjustments I'd be looking at. Like I feel that both of them just don't really cut this FIFA at all, so that's where I would just kind of primarily focus my efforts on. And obviously Henderson, you're probably eventually going to work up to like say De Gea, Alisson, Lloris, those type of goalies. But for a starting team, definitely ticks all the boxes. Van de Beek's like, if he gets one to watch, he's probably like an inform of being a very good midfielder, and Marcel's was kind of another one. Reguilon's probably another, but Lacazette, even his like level 30 card doesn't really cut it. You're kind of needing something that's like 88, 89 rated with like really juiced up stats. So like Pepe and Lacazette for me would be my kind of like 2 adjustments. Next squad is from Slug, one of our mods. His team has done pretty well so far. Obviously interesting to see Ollie Watkins in the team. I wasn't necessarily expecting this, but I suppose everyone's got their own like preferences. And Grealish, even though he's off chems, no big deal. Rafinha, another interesting one. Don't expect many to play him. Modric would probably swap for Valverde. Benzema, just even though he's an 89 rated card, I just don't feel he cuts the game at all. And Davinson Sanchez, another one. So it's like even though he's got quite a few off chem, there is a bit of work to be had with this particular team to try and get the chem addressed. Make like to say get everyone in full chem, like Grealish. In an ideal world, if he was a cam, then it would be perfect. But a bit of work to be had, but we'll get there. On to Chapo. He always starts off with a big massive squad, which is kind of crazy for him, but I suppose it's each their own for approach. For me, I would say realistically it's mainly trying to see, like, Salah's good, but I just never get to grips with him. I just never ever get to grips with him. That's my kind of like criticism with the card. But I think obviously in an ideal world it's kind of just upgrading towards a better improvement on Martial. I can't like Cantona, Henry, those type of players, but there's very little that you can really adjust at this stage of FIFA. But it's like Martial, the kind of like really an icon, is kind of like the next step. I can get a French icon in, or even any icon for that matter, and it'll probably work a treat. But that would be kind of my suggestion, if anything. On to John, one of our more active members as well. His team pretty sound, not really too much needing adjusted within. I would probably say, for me, it's like Ruslan's expensive. Like, he's very expensive for what you pay, and like, he's a good left back. Lucas Hernandez, good centre back, but he does lack a little in some regards. But it's same again, it's Pepe kind of really just the main adjustment, if I'm honest, and it's just how you kind of like utilise him. Royce for me is not a striker, so I'd try and maybe think of someone else, but you're kind of toiling for options really, unless you suddenly go Sané left mid, say for example, and then say Werner. That is a potential option to consider, so that would maybe be two possibilities to build up to, I suppose. JP, his squad, fairly straightforward. I would probably be looking to put the time into, like, it's the same with a few people. Like, it's interesting he's went in Ndombele. Like, I'd probably go Sissoko, and then I'd take Lucas out for just anyone else at right mid. I'd like try and go for like even Salah or Mahrez or Bernardo Silva. I'm just never a fan of the like any of the Lucas cards that you ever get. I just never enjoy them, even when I had his player of the month in a previous FIFA. But that would be kind of like my only real adjustment. Pope, you'd maybe upgrade as well, but obviously if you're trying to keep Kem, you'd maybe then look at Trent at right back, and then maybe a goalie of say like Alisson, for example. So you're kind of trying to build up those kind of links, but I suppose each their own. But team does its job regardless, I feel. Then on to our next squad from FIFA. His squad, he is obviously he was hinting at like where do I kind of like upgrade next in general. Like for me, realistically, Pepe is kind of like the standout shout. Interesting to see Felipe Anderson obviously, because he's no longer in the Prem, he's out on loan in Porto. Raul Jimenez you don't see very much, but it's an interesting option to go with. Dele Alli would probably be one upgrade I'd go for. It's like who to kind of go for is the next kind of conundrum. Like Thiago Silva's a bit slow even with Shadow, so it's maybe looking at upgrading him as well. So like, but saying that, it's like it's progressive steps. It's like Thiago Silva for Fernandinho, and Dele Alli would probably be like, and Pepe would be like the next progressive steps I would consider, if I'm honest. But it's like getting to like those next kind of steps, as it were. RH, his squad, nothing. It's kind of like everyone kind of you can see like some people adopting like early like initial squads, and then obviously some people have went like for broke, as it were. Like with this squad, like Isaac is good for a starter squad, but he's someone that you're realistically going to have to like upgrade fairly quick. Modric for me doesn't cut. I'd rather have Valverde. Porto for right winger isn't too bad, but it's trying to kind of think of where do you kind of next progress. Guedes is realistically maybe for like Dembele or someone like that. Hermoso and Nacho Fernandez, you're realistically going to be looking at like Ramos and Varane, and so it's like there's big steps up to be had, but it's being wary at the same time, seeing how team of the weeks play out, and also how you actually play in general, like how you do initially in weekend league. That's what it comes down to as well. Next team is George. He's put a bit. George is one of our very active members. He's also known as the No Life Champion. We joke about that for how active he is in the Discord. Obviously, he's a Spurs fan, and he's got Bale and Kane rocking up. Like, as a team, as far as the team goes, if I'm realistically honest, there's not much. Like, Havertz is good as a centre mid. It's just how you get the best out of him, and I would probably say we're all hoping that Bale can get some inform, so having that one to watch could be perfect. Partey will be another one that will be interesting. He doesn't always usually do enough to merit an inform, but realistically for now this team does not need upgrades. It will do the job for quite a while. It's just hopefully that if like Havertz, Partey, Kane and Bale, on the hope that those guys all get informs respectively. That's kind of what we've got to hope for at this stage of the game. With Rodriguez, his team, Rodrigo being at centre mid is an interesting play. Obviously Carrasco and Lautaro off chem is a bit of a concern as well, but obviously Telles is no longer at Porto, so you've got to rely on the Man United version, but obviously the theory of still kind of implementing it is there, so it could probably work quite well. But I think getting Rodrigo, Lautaro, Carrasco address would be kind of like the paramount situation, if I'm honest. But as far as teams go, it'll be interesting to see how Jesus Navas works at right back this year. But for me, this team, bit of work in progress. It seems half there, half not, if I'm honest. It's like it needs a bit of adjustment to kind of get it to where it needs to be for like being able to play with, I feel. But I suppose that's me. Then on to Ash, one of our mods as well in the Discord. His team, he's been slowly, progressively trying to build up quite nicely. And it's interesting to see Bundesliga utilised. Front three of Bayern Munich, of Sané, Lewandowski and Gnabry. Goretzka obviously in midfield. Mbabu being the odd option, of course, at right back, but I suppose it's that or Pavard, so, and Mbabu's a much more complete option, and I suppose if you've got him at right back it helps. Then, but for me, like, it's realistically it's mainly trying to address left back, because Gunter, the Freiburg left back, it's like Schultz is one option, but there's not much else really like German left backs. That is one area. It's like Hausenberg, and it doesn't have like Klosterman and as a centre back, so it's a bit of work to be had. On to next squad here. For me, like as we've said throughout, it's just mainly getting like players like Lucas. Just I'm not a fan of, and even though Rashford's obviously as a left forward and he'll be on like 7 km, I'd rather just take him out, just get somebody else in. Like Rashford's, I'm sure like Rashford's a good card. Like Rashford's generally always had like a half decent card, but there is usually better options out there. Like especially at striker, like Martial's much more complete card, I feel. So for me, realistically, it's Martial. For say Rashford, and say like Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Salah over Pepe, over Lucas even, get my tongue tied there. On to CB, another of our members. Quite a few squads we're working through, folks. This is, I can see where the thought process has gone in here, try to kind of work off as meta as possible. Neto and Pepe would probably just be my only real adjustments I would actually make. Like, try and get Adama at right mid over Lucas, so Semedo gets would get full chem then, and like if Neto, I think realistically you just keep it as it is, obviously for chemistry, or you just get like a Brazilian goalie Like, if Alisson could keep the chem, then fine, but I don't think he would, because obviously Sissoko's there, so you'd then maybe want to try and look elsewhere. But as far as like a fun-ish team goes, it definitely looks a good bit of fun and links up quite nicely. On to Yuco. His team, if I'm honest, is a bit disjointed in the sense of like off-chem with like Depay and Carrasco. I can see the thought process where he's went with like Promes and Haps, but like he's trying to be creative, but at the same time I feel it's needs a bit of work still. Like Bergwijn, like you're never going to play Raja as a striker. It's like you're trying to only put him in just for like the sake of chem, so it's like try and think elsewhere, like maybe have like the Payet striker or someone else that just keeps the links up. But this team just needs a bit of work. Kimpembe, Denayer, Magnan, I feel wouldn't really cut it at the early stages of FIFA, so that's probably another adjustment to consider. Like the effort's there, it just needs a bit of work to kind of where to go realistically. Maybach, this is a big team. Like this is no messing about. Fair bit of effort. I'm being intrigued to see how many FIFA points are. Maybe even trading or pack work's been going his way. But I would probably say like the only real adjustment you'd make is Dembele, even though he's off chem, but teamwork's fine as it is. Torres, I'm be excited to see what he's like. Carlos Alberto, know what he's like, he's always consistent. Blanc, we know how consistent he is. Sometimes his centre mid version, cam version, when you play him as a CDM or centre mid, can last you forever in the game, so definitely ticks all the boxes. And as we said with Navas, it'll be interesting to see how he plays as a right back this year. But definitely very good squad, and could definitely last him quite a while into FIFA. It's just minor adjustments as like the year kind of like progresses, as it were. So fair play to him with that kind of squad at this stage of FIFA. So like everyone to their own, of course. Then on to Jamie. His team is obviously he's inserted Valverde in, and it's interesting to see Partey's Atletico card. I'm sure he'll be keeping that close to his chest. Obviously the only like issue is for me, if really anything, is just like the players off chem. Like I'm just one of these players that just have like Valverde's a CDM, so he's on 10, Griezmann's on 9, on 10. Try and make sure Dembele's on 7 as well. I'm guessing he's not got enough loyalty yet, possibly, but it's little things like that just to make sure, because you'd rather just make sure you get that little extra bit out of the chem styles. But this team could last for a good while, and like Carvajal is obviously the alternative to like Navas, I suppose, for a right back. Gunderson, interesting to see some cheaper teams kind of thrown in as well. Everyone's obviously got their own approach to how they go about the game, so definitely an interesting little hybrid of like CSL, Bundesliga and Serie A. For me, I would probably take out Eder and probably put Teixeira in, but obviously it hampers Barella. But there's, for a cheap team, it will do its job. It will do its job throughout. Like Elkerson and Goulart aren't the best cards in the world, but I suppose if you're just trying to go front three from like the Chinese Super League, you can even adjust it to say like Paulinho, Oscar and Teixeira, for example, even, and maybe take out like Barella for somebody else. But as far as a cheap team goes, it's a bit of fun, so fair play Gunderson for putting that together. Each to their own. And obviously Juz kind of going slightly similar, I suppose. He's just having a bit of like friendly rivalry with Gunderson, and for me, Paulinho, Renato Augusto are sound. The back four, originally, Like, I think Richie Delay's not bad, but at the same time it's trying to fit in options that work. I know a few folk are wanting to rock up with Clinton Mata and Nurio and Buta, just for a bit of fun. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it, but obviously with a lot of off links in the midfield to the back four, and you're having to rely on the strong links, it's interesting. And obviously Alkesson / Elkesson working in the Tuscan Teixeira works quite well. And then our final team from Michael, his team, I would probably say it's good to see that, interesting that like others will incorporate Bernardo Silva. For me, Fernandinho's probably the only adjustment I'd maybe make in terms of centre backs, like maybe work to Van Dijk or even Davison Sanchez, or if anything you just go and put a shadow on him. That's maybe all I do. Henderson's another I'm not a fan of. Like, try and find another centre mid within the Prem that links up quite nicely. There's tons that you can go for, so it's like that's who I'd kind of try and take out. And like Kovacic will do the job in midfield. Raul Jimenez with Hunter, he's one of these type of strikers that for me I would probably put a Hunter on him anyway. But definitely a lot of fun squads out here, folks, at this stage of FIFA. Be interesting to see how everyone does when it comes to weekend league in due course. So hopefully you find this useful, folks. If you want to get involved in this, let me know and I'll happily try and get some squad reviews done for yourselves, and I'll hopefully get more of them done from the Discord in due course. So let me know, folks, what your favourites were, what ones need improvements themselves, and so forth. Smash likes always, sub to channel for new. Follow me on Twitter, G the Legend, and I will catch you all later.